All right, so it is time. This infinite investment game. I talk about alternative investments and also collectibles, and I talk about things that you can be doing to basically make smart decisions. This isn't investment advice, but I give you an overview of certain things that I see that everybody else doesn't for whatever reason. And I want to talk about the NFL prospecting BS. Um, that's going on right now is very, very concerning. Some of the people that make me think there's some kind of conspiracy or something, it's just not making any sense. I'm going to go ahead and start. Okay. So Justin Herbert, there's only like 127 PSA 10 silver cards, but for whatever reason, his silvers, they're down, but they're going for 3K already. Okay. That's a lot. There's only like 3,000 bases already graded, and they're still grading stuff. I mean, and there are a lot of people who aren't sending in stuff in for grading yet, and there's a lot of sealed wax that people aren't opening that they got hoarded because they were like, sealed wax is going to be worth more because we don't know who's going to, there's a lot of sealed wax that's just like sitting there where that can add to the pop count. Who knows? It probably could be 1,000. I mean, they're still not done grading stuff. And then all the other parallels and stuff that exist. And his auto silver is 5K. The auto silver for Josh Allen is 3,500. Keep this in mind, right? If you have a higher pop count than someone who's, let's say, all-time great quarterback like Drew Brees, and Drew Brees' pop count is 7 for his Topps Chrome, which is basically equivalent to the silver. His pop count is 7, and Drew Brees' silver PSA 10 sells for anywhere from $6,900 to about $9,000. Okay, and Justin Herbert is, a lot more than that, almost 20 times that, and it's still adding to the pop count. So it's probably going to be over 20 times that. And his cards sell for half, about 3,000, but there's more parallels. There's more cards in general for this guy. So this is a problem. This is a big problem. Yeah, this is, and he hasn't won a I don't even know if he's won a playoff game. So he hasn't won a Super Bowl. He hasn't been to the Super Bowl. He hasn't won MVP. So, and then he has other competition. You still have Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes at least has an MVP. He has a Super Bowl. He's threw for 5,000 yards, through 5,000 yards, I think 50 touchdowns. So, and he still has a really great team. You still have him. You have Josh Allen, who's gotten far in the playoffs. You have Joe Burrow, who's gotten to the Super Bowl. You still have Lamar Jackson. At least he has an MVP. You have Kyler Murray. My head just wants to spin. You still have other guys. You still have Russell Wilson in the mix. Listen, the top in a decade of guys, of quarterbacks, in the previous decade of quarterbacks who were drafted, who were around in the top 10 list, is Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, and Drew Brees. So it's 5 dudes, okay? They weren't, and this is in 10 years, okay? At least 2 of these guys people don't care about. Ben Roethlisberger's silver is $1,802, around 2K for a silver. So Justin Herbert is apparently going to be better than Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger has 2 Super Bowls. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play for one of the most historic quarterback franchises, or just player franchises ever. And Terry Bradshaw played for the Pittsburgh Steelers and won them 4 Super Bowls. But his cards sell more. Okay. And he has a lower pop count. And Justin Herbert, they've overprinted silver because people are still going to be not only just Prism, but people are going to be competing to get Prism Field Level Silvers, Premier and Concours Silvers, Optic Hollows, all the high-end National Treasures and all this other stuff. There's way more cars going to be for Justin Herbert than there will be for Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees. Literally, that doesn't make any sense. And if you're buying his cars, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you're making a huge gamble. And who knows? Maybe it's Lamar Jackson. Maybe he turns. I mean, he hasn't really been playing bad, to be honest with you. Maybe it's Josh Allen. Maybe it's Joe Burrow. Maybe it's Patrick Mahomes. Maybe it's Justin Herbert. Maybe it's Kyler Murray. Maybe it's Trevor Lawrence. Maybe it's Justin Fields. Like, this prospecting thing is a problem. Just because people are paying, like, how much of his stuff is going to grow, right? Like, him already winning the Super Bowl is, like, baked in his prices. The other person I have a problem with is Patrick Mahomes, the way his went up so much. I remember I was going to buy his card the playoff series before he won the Super Bowl. I remember going into the playoffs, he was hurt, and the team was winning. And I looked at the stats because I wasn't paying attention to football for a while. And guess what? I noticed that, like, he threw for over 5,000 yards, and over 50-some touchdowns, and he can scramble? What? And his team is winning with him hurt, and he's coming back? And I'm like, his cards are $600. And at the time, paying $600 for one card was insane. I wouldn't have done it. I didn't do it, but I was seriously thinking about it. I was like, man, this should be a really good investment. And sure enough, it was, because he came back. Because I saw him getting blown out by the Texans. I was like, oh, well, glad I didn't buy one. And then he blew them out and went to 800. And then when he got to the Super Bowl, I think they're around 1,000 or 1,200, and then they shot up to 1,700 consistently, and then one price sold for $1,925. And then during the off season, they shot up continuously, and eventually they got to 14,000. There were a couple of sales for 14,000, more than a couple of sales for 14,000, but around $12,000 to be honest with you. And now it's down to around $5,000 to $6,000 for Patrick Mahomes. People are just seriously overpaying, and people are going to be doing the same thing with Justin Herbert. They're like, oh, no, it's the, he's going to do more, and it's going to continue to go up in value. Like, Justin Herbert has to do a lot just to stay at that value. Same for Joe Burrow. I mean, you've seen how Lamar Jackson has declined. Kyler Murray is a player, and there could be other guys going to be drafted in the next few years that, or at least from the 2021 class, or coming out from somewhere in the 2019, 2020 class, that could be that guy. And it's only like 3 guys per decade that people actually care about. From like 88 to 87. I mean, it's probably some of the Brett Favres, and there are a few guys that people really care about. And I think people need to keep this in mind, that really every decade, there's only 3 quarterbacks that are actually going to be worth holding long term. In the last decade, Tom Brady, obviously, okay, people will say he's the GOAT. Peyton Manning, he was dominant in the league for a very long time. And some people say Aaron Rodgers, and a lot has to do with his popularity. But over time, that may wane. We'll see. And then you can add between Drew Brees and Ben Roethlisberger. But to be honest with you, it's Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Those are the top 2 guys. I mean, absolutely. As far as MVPs and championships, it's those 2. And probably this decade, or in the last decade, let's say from 2012 to, I guess you could add Russell Wilson. I believe Russell Wilson was 2014, 13, somewhere like that. So then, add Russell Wilson in this. So out of all these guys, all these guys are going to be popular, but who's really going to want those cards like that, right? Like, there's going to be collectors, but these newer guys have such higher pop counts. I mean, except Patrick Mahomes, but he has other parallels that people can go after. Outside of that, like once you get to 18, 19, 20, like just way more cards. And I just don't see this. I think people are really speculating, and I think really what people, if you're doing football, you're better off selling this stuff and going and buying a PSA 10 or BGS 10 1986, tops Jerry Rice or Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Roger Staubach, someone like that. These dudes aren't cutting it, but let me know what you think. Are these prices too cheap or too much? Let me know. Please comment below, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you want me to talk about. Peace.